Hello everyone. In today's video, I'm going to be answering one of the most burning questions that I get from a lot of people, and that is, please can you give us book recommendations for game design? So today I'm actually going to be doing that in this video. Now, books are great. To be honest, most important way to learn how to make video games is to actually make them. Making video games is a very practical field. The best way to learn game design is to actually build games. However, there is definitely a space for understanding the fundamentals of game design from people who've done it before, which is why books are really important. So books add as a very important addition to your education and learning for game design. In Vancouver Film School, we got 3 books as textbooks in our program, which is a Diploma in Game Design, and I'm going to be sharing my review of these 3 books. So let's go. Alright, so what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be doing 3 different books. The first one is going to be a textbook, which is going to be theory heavy. It's going to talk about the fundamentals. It's going to go deep into game design principles. The second book I'm going to review is going to be a practical guide to game design. It's going to tell you the nuts and bolts, how to actually go about designing a game in great detail. And the third book that I'm going to recommend is going to be on level design specifically, because that is also a field where there's a lot of misinformation. So once you get these 3 books, you'll be knowing about the practice, the theory, and the practical application of game design. Remember, these books are a little bit expensive, but I really recommend that you buy all of them. It's a really good investment if you want to be a professional game designer. So let's do the first one. So the first one is Rules of Play Game Design Fundamentals by Salen and Ernest Zimmerman. Now, this book is a textbook and it reads like one, right? It's a very dense and it's not exactly an enjoyable read. Because of its denseness, it covers a lot of integral aspects of game design much more thoroughly than any other book. It's going to give you a better understanding of the why behind the how, and that is really valuable. Now, this book is actually cited wide and far in all areas of game research and ludology, which is basically the science of play. It is a very perfect introduction to game research and academia. Also, it's rigorous enough that even a professional game designer will want to keep reading it. I keep going back to this book in my practice of game design and teaching as well, right? Also, it shows how games can be understood as not just stories or gameplay, but as cybernetic systems, as information systems, as systems of conflicts, of gambling, and many other things. Now, if you want to gain a huge amount of knowledge about games and game design and research, this is a great book. If you're interested in game academia, you should read this, and if you want to make games, you should definitely own this particular book. Now, this book is available on Amazon. It's not cheap at rupees 5,500, but a great investment if you want to get into game design as a professional. The link is in the description of this video. Go ahead and buy it if you're really serious about game design. Alright, the second book that I'm talking about is The Fundamentals of Game Design by Ernest Adams and Andrew Rawlings. These guys are really famous, and this is truly an awesome book. This is actually a game which is very practical game design book, and for the new game designers, for beginner game designers, this is a really great book. It's a very practical book and actually teaches you how to apply game design concepts. First, it takes you through the development of concepts, designing games, game mechanics, interfaces, balancing, and how to tell an engaging story. It also discusses design for phones and the screens on phones and iPads, and for mobiles, and that anything that is touchscreen. Next, it also introduced motion capture gameplay. It mentions how he designs games from the first moment of determining the basic concept to fleshing it out. At the end of the chapters, it has exercises, design worksheets, and case studies that sum up everything that you have learned. Here are the most useful chapter topics: game concepts, game worlds, character development, storytelling and narrative, user experience, gameplay, core mechanics, game balancing, level design principles, and explanation of different game engines. So once again, even if you don't want to buy the first one, this is the book that you really want to buy, because this is a very practical guide which will teach you the practical as well as some theory of game design. It is available on Amazon. It's at 3,175, but it is a fantastic investment if you want to get into game design as a professional. The link is in the description of this video, so let's go. Lastly, Level Design for Games, Creating Compelling Game Experiences by Philco. Now, this is a level design book specifically for level design. It focuses on real-world level design, from documentation to brainstorming to paper map to prototyping and final development, right? The processes provided are very, very similar to what you would find in professional game development, with an eye to like how to reuse assets and how to test designs as early on as possible. Now, I believe that there is no better introduction to level design. Go and buy it if you're interested in making level design in your career, or if you're going to be involved in the level design process in any way, if you want to be a systems designer, environment designer, or any associated role like that. The only thing is that, remember, the second half of this book actually focuses on Unreal. It is kind of like basic tutorial for the Unreal Engine, but even if you're not interested in learning the Unreal Engine, even if you're looking for the first half, it's very, very useful for beginner game designers and especially level designers. So this is a really, really good book. Once again, Level Design for Games, Creating Compelling Game Experiences by Philco. I own this book. I love this book. It's really, really useful. It's a little bit on the expensive side. It's available on Amazon. It's not cheap. It's at 11,126 rupees at this point. However, maybe you can try and get a cheaper copy on Amazon or the internet. Have a look. Really, really good book. And I mean, come on, it's the cost of a cheap smartphone, and it's a lifelong investment if you want to be a game designer. So I would actually advise buying all three, because it'll be the cost of what, 20k or less, and you will have access to some really, really awesome game design resources. Right now, if you want to do a practical course, if you want to learn how to implement all this stuff that you learned in these books, if you want to learn how to implement all this in games, if you want to build your portfolio, check out gamertomaker.com. We have courses in game design and game programming and game art, and we have an awesome community as well. So check that out, and don't forget to follow me on Instagram, and don't forget to join the Discord server. All the links are in the description of this video. So I will see you around. Let's go.